Welcome to today's math lesson. Originally, I had put a video on for today for the problems that I felt like the class would get to. We didn't quite get as far as what you would have gotten done at home according to the video. And there was also a mistake made on the previous video, so I wanted to correct that. You will see a video link for today's lesson. It will be titled exactly the same, but it will be slightly different from yesterday's video. I did have a couple of students turn in the session 3 and 4 assignment here. I looked through those and made comments, and you will be able to go back now and make corrections. So with this video, I want to go over all of the problems. I went over a few in the previous video, but again, I'm replacing it with this due to a mistake I discovered in the problems, as well as not getting through quite to where I thought we would be today. So when you are on Schoology, let me go back there for just a minute, and you go to your math course, you're going to find September 13th through the 17th, and you're going to go to this September 16th through the 17th folder. And you will see these things here, and the assignment that we are looking at right now is Lesson 4, Session 3 and 4. When you open that, you do want to open it with Kami, so just make sure that you do that. So with these slides, I want you to make sure that your slides look like mine, of course. So we have been focusing on being able to write expressions, being able to identify the parts of an expression, and then today we will delve into evaluating expressions when we are given specific valuables for the variables within those expressions. So the first thing is a start problem, and it says, which would you rather? So you pick which one you would rather. There's not really a right or wrong answer here. You just see that C is the number of carrots and B is the number of bananas. For me, I'm going to pick an expression that I feel like would give me more bananas than carrots because I am more of a banana fan than a carrot fan. So just make sure that when you answer it, it just applies to which would you rather, and then to justify that. For the second start problem, this is really what you're going to be doing in these sessions, session 3 and 4. So we have an expression, we have 16 plus A plus 6B divided by 3. And then they give us values for our variables. Remember, variables are our unknowns. They are our letters in an expression. So we're going to replace A with 2, and we're going to replace B with 3. So we have 16 plus 2 in parentheses here, plus 6. Remember, when we have a number sitting next to a variable, we have multiplication. So we have 6 times 3 and then divided by 3. At this point, once I have placed those values in for my variables, I want to then follow my order of operations. For most of us, we know GEMS. So we start with G, which is your groupings. We have a grouping right here with 16 plus 2. That would be 18 plus, we could go ahead and say 6 times 3. That would be 18. And then, of course, we are bringing down the divide by 3. So we took care of our groupings. There are no exponents. We even went ahead and did multiplication here with 6 times 3. Now we want to divide because this m is really for multiplication and division. So we want to divide 18 divided by 3, which would give us 6. So we have 18 plus 6. That will give us our final answer, and it will complete our order of operations with subtraction or addition. In this case, it is addition. So you're going to add 18 plus 6. And once you get that answer, you have evaluated that expression. So again, this is what we will be doing with our session 3. If you have time later and you finished all of your math assignments, remember you have 5 ALEKS topics due at the end of the week. We have a try-it problem here. And in the try-it problem, this is on page 75 of your math textbook. So it says a county fair has different ticket prices for adults and children. The expression 6A plus 5C represents the total cost in dollars of tickets for A being adults and C being children. So this is our expression. And then the problem goes on to tell us that the Patel family spends $38 on tickets. How many adult tickets and how many children's tickets did they buy? So we have 6 times the number of adults plus 5 times the number of children will give us a total spent of $38. So what I can do is I can start plugging in numbers for my variables to see if I can get something that's going to give me a sum of 38. So 1 ticket would be 6 times 1 for an adult, which would be $6. 2 adult tickets would be 6 times 2, which would give us $12. We could continue on further and we could say $6 for 3 adult tickets. 6 times 3 is 18. Now, I'm noticing something about what I just did here. When I multiplied 6 times 3, I get 18. I'm seeing that there's an 8 in the ones place here. There's also an 8 in the ones place in my answer that I'm wanting when I get my sum. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to say 3 adult tickets, which gives me $18. So I'm going to say that we've spent $18 on adult tickets. If I have $38 that I've spent, and 18 of that was for adults, if I subtract that, 38 minus 18, that leaves me with 20. So then I have to decide, is there a number I can multiply by 5? Because remember, a number next to our variable means we're multiplying. So 5 times something, will that give me 20? And the answer is yes, 5 times 4. 5 times 4 would give me 20. So in response to this question, it wants to know how many adult tickets and children tickets did they buy. So when we're answering here, they bought 3 adults tickets and 4 children's tickets, because 5 times 4 is 20. If you need to go back and replay any of this information, please remember to do that throughout the lesson. If you want to try problems on your own before I actually discuss how to do them, then make sure you hit pause as needed. Go ahead and solve the problem and then go back and listen for how to find the solution. So that is our answer there for the try-it problem on page 75. We are going to skip over the Analyze and Connect It page and move on to the Apply It on page 78. So here we have an image over to the side here of a hot air balloon. And this hot air balloon has risen 120 meters off of the ground. After that 120 meters, for every for every second, the balloon is going to rise 2 meters. So we can form an expression from this. There's 120 meters that has already risen, plus 2 times the amount of seconds that the balloon spins in the air. That expression is already written in the problem for you. So we have 120 plus 2t. The problem goes on to tell us that they want us to use the expression to find the height of the balloon after 15 seconds. So 15 seconds, that would be t, our time. So we're going to plug in a 15 there. Remember, when we have a number sitting next to our variable, we are multiplying. So 2 times 15. And then we bring down the rest of our expression, and now we are following that order of operations with gems. So groupings comes first. We don't have any exponents, but we do have multiplication. So we would do 2 times 15, which is 30. And we now have 120 plus 30, which gives us 150 meters. So that is how far the hot air balloon would have risen if it was already 120 meters in the air and then spent another 15 seconds in the air. So that is our solution for number 6 on page 78. Let's take a look at number 7. And on the previous video, I had made a mistake not only in calculation, but there's also part of the expression that is missing on the slide that is in your textbook. And it is the plus 2. So we have 4 times x minus y plus 2. That should be your expression for number 7. And if you have your math textbook, that should be what you see in your math textbook. So now we want to plug in values. We want to plug in 7 for our x and 1 for y. After we plug in those values for those variables, we then want to follow our order of operations. So we start with our groupings. We have 1 here, 7 minus 1, that would be 6. We do not have any exponents. When we bring down the rest of our expression, we do have multiplication. We have 4 times 6. 4 times 6 is 24, plus 2. So now we are adding and subtracting. 24 plus 2 is 26, which would be answer choice A. So that is our answer to number 7. Now we want to take a look at question number 8. It's not numbered on the slide, but this is question number 8. The biggest trip up that we had in class today was that this right here is the letter L for length. So we're going to use this expression to find the perimeter of this rectangle. And they do give us the length and they give us the width here for our rectangle. So all we have to do is then plug those numbers in to our equation. So 2 times L, so that's 2/3, plus 2 times W, W is 1/6. Now we are ready to multiply. When we multiply a whole number times a fraction, we can always place that whole number over 1. So now we have 2 over 1 times 2/3. We multiply across the top. 2 times 2 is 4. And then we multiply across the bottom. 1 times 3 is 3. Then we would have 2 over 1 times 1/6. Now, we could go ahead and multiply, or we can simplify before we multiply. 2 and 6 share a factor. They both share the factor of 2. So I could go ahead and do some canceling out here and say 2 divided by 2 is 1, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So now I have 1 over 1 times 1/3, which would give me 1/3. 1 times 1 is 1, 1 times 3 is 3. My fractions have common denominators, so now 4/3 plus 1/3 is going to give me 5/3. Once I have 5/3, I want to take that, because it is a fraction greater than 1, and change it to a mixed number. So this would be 1 2/3 yards. So that is our answer, our solution to the expression 2L plus 2W if those are the values for our variables. So that was session 3, which allows us to then move into session 4. So with session 1 and 2 and 3, we have done all of these things. We have written expressions that record operations. We have identified parts of expressions. And then with session 3, we placed values in for our variables to find our answers. So that brings us to what our textbook calls our refine lesson. So in the refine lesson, they give you one example problem, and then they give you a whole lot of apply it problems, or I should say quite a few apply it problems. So that is what the class is working on completing. So right now, today, it is September 16th. Tomorrow, the students in class will continue working on these problems. They started them today on the 16th, and they will continue working on them on the 17th. And then they will also do some rotations with fluency practice. If you are at home on the 17th, then you will be going back and checking answers for these problems. Hopefully, on September 16th, you were working through these problems to find the answers. And then on the 17th, you will continue this video and go through these problems with me to make sure you have correct answers. So page 81 starts with an example. And in this example, it's telling you to evaluate the algebraic expression. So here's the expression, and then they give you values to put in for your variables. And then it says, look at how you could show your work by substituting the given variables or variables, substitute values for the variables, and then following the order of operations. So these are your steps. The only step they didn't do is the very last one, where you would do 5 times 20. Well, 5 times 2 is 10, and then you add a 0, so this would be 100. So that is how to finish out the example problem there. That example problem is also meant as a reference for you if you need help with anything. That brings us to number 1 here. In number 1, I want you to go ahead and pause the video and actually read through the problem, please, and try to identify what this problem is asking you to find. So please pause the video and do that now. Okay, so this problem is asking you to find what the temperature of the room is in Celsius, and it gives it to you in Fahrenheit. It also gives you an expression where if you know Fahrenheit, you can plug it in where you see F and then find your degrees in Celsius. So that is exactly what you're doing with this problem. You've got 5/9, and you're going to replace F with 77 degrees minus 32. Now, our order of operations says that we would start with groupings. And we have groupings here. So we would do 77 minus 32. That would give us 45. And then we don't have any exponents, but we do have multiplication. So we are going to do 5/9 times 45. And again, you can place your whole number over 1 to create your fraction. If you like to put the multiplication symbol in between there, you are welcome to do that. It is not necessary, though, because having this fraction sitting next to those parentheses tells us that we are multiplying. And just like in a previous problem that we talked about, you can simplify before you multiply. So if there's anything on the top and bottom that share factors, that is where you can go ahead and simplify. So 9 and 45 do share a factor. So 9 divided by 9 would be 1. 45 divided by 9 would be 5. So now we have 5 times 5 on the top, which would be 25, and then 1 times 1 on the bottom, which is 1. So anytime you have a number over 1, it's just that whole number. So our answer here is 25 degrees Celsius. So that is how we would find the answer to question number 1. If you have not taken the time to go ahead and do the remainder of the problems for this session, for session 4, then I want you to go ahead and pause the video and do those questions. Try them on your own and see where you get. And then come back and listen for the rest of the problems and how to work them. So go ahead and pause the video and make sure you have completed the rest of these problems. So now that you have completed the problems, we're going to take a look at them and make sure that we have correct answers here. So we have Carmen. Carmen has a bag of peaches, and we don't know how many peaches are in the bag, so we're going to represent that with P. She adds, so that's plus, she adds 10 peaches to whatever amount she has, so that's P plus 10. Then, so that tells me we have to do P plus 10 first. Then she shares all of the peaches equally among 5 friends. Anytime we are sharing equally, we are dividing, and she is dividing it among 5 friends. So we have now written an expression that represents the number of peaches. So that is our answer to number 2. Then we see number 3 here. Number 3 says, which algebraic expression represents the statement below? 4 less than 2 times a number. If we look over here to the side, it has a consider this, and it says the expression 9 minus x can be read 9 minus x, or x less than 9. Well, in this case, we have 4 less than this. So 2 times a number, and we want 4 less than 2 times a number. So we have 2 times 4. Or 2x minus 4. Sorry. So 2 times a number minus 4. If we look at this problem, it says Katrina chose A as the correct answer. How might she have gotten that answer? And I'll be honest, when I first looked at this, I just started plugging in, okay, so 4 less than, so that's a minus 2 times a number. And that's what I had at first. But then I went back and I looked at it and I went, oh, wait, that's not really what this is saying. So it's not saying 2 times a number less than 4. It's saying 4 less than this product. So Katrina made the same mistake that your teacher made when she first looked at it. That brings us to number 4. Now, number 4, you want to break down into steps. So the first step is to write the expression. So with this video game, each player starts out with 100 points. Plus, they can earn 8 points for each gold coin, plus 25 points for each gem. So this is the expression, and then they give us some values for gold coins and gems. So my gold coins is 3, and my gems is 2. I bring down everything else that I had in that original expression. So then I'm following my order of operations. So I'm going to start with groupings. I don't have any groupings. I don't have any exponents, but I do have multiplication, and I have it in 2 different places. So I would do 8 times 3. That would be 24. And then 25 times 2, that would be 50. Then I would add all of those together, and that would give me 174 points, I believe. So that is how we find our solution to question number 4. Then we have question number 5. In question number 5, we have a phrase that we're looking at, the product of 10 and the difference of. So the product of 10 times the difference, and it's the difference of 5y and 1. Difference is subtraction. So we have 2 factors. We have 10, and then we have 5y minus 1. So that is our answer to question number 5. Then we have number 6. In number 6, this person has 80 sunflower seeds. She plants 12, so she's taking away 12 of the stash of seeds that she has. Then she gives away, so that again is taking away, she gives away 5 seeds to each of her friends, which is going to be multiplication. So we would represent that with 5f. Because if I had 5 friends and each of them gets 2 cookies, then I have given away 8 cookies. And I find that out by multiplying 4. If I had 4 friends and 2 cookies, I would be giving away 8 cookies. I find that out by multiplying 4 times 2. So our answer here, our solution is D. That brings us to number 7. And in number 7, they're asking us to identify the parts of the expression. So 11 is a constant. It's not being multiplied by a variable, so that term does not have a variable. We have term 1, which is 11. We have term 2, which is 9k. And then we have term 3, which is 6n. So this expression does have 3 terms. 11 is not a coefficient. It's not something that's being multiplied by a variable. So it doesn't have a variable in it. So it's a constant. So that part would be false. And then in one of the terms, 6 is a factor. So here's a term where 6 is a factor. So that is true. In fact, the factors for that term are 6 and n. And then it says the expression has 2 variables. So we have k and we have n. So that statement is true as well. So that is the answer to number 7. Then we have number 8. Enrico is going to a department store. T-shirts are on sale for $2 off the regular price. So if I were writing an expression for that, I have my regular price, which in this case is going to be represented with P, minus $2. And it says that our specific expression is multiplying that times 5. So inside the parentheses would be my cost, which tells me that 5 is the number of t-shirts that I am purchasing. So in this expression, it wants to know what each factor represents. So 5 is the number of t-shirts that are being purchased. P is the original price or regular price. And then 2 is the amount that you get off for the sale. So the price taken off because it is a $2 off the regular price sale. So that is what each factor in that expression represents. Then we have number 9 and number 10. I do want you to try those two on your own. If you have not tried any on your own yet so far, please try these two on your own before you listen to me going over them. So we have our original expression, 3 times A times 4B minus C. I should say C minus C. So we're going to plug in values here. So we have 3, that stays the same. A is going to be 2. Then we have 4 times, remember, number next to a letter is multiplication, 4 times 3 because 3 is going in for B. And then we are subtracting C, which is going to be 2 8/10. So we are going to start with groupings. Remember, we're following our order of operations. So the smallest grouping I have is this right here. And within that grouping, I have multiplication. So I want to start there. So I want to do 4 times 3, which is 12. And then subtract 2 8/10. And then I'll bring down everything else in my expression. So now I want to do 12 minus 2 8/10. So 12 minus 2 8/10. I would make this a decimal number. I would have to borrow. So I have 9 2/10. I would bring down what is still remaining. So now I have 9 2/10 being multiplied by 2. That's what's happening here. So that would give me 18 4/10. And then my last step would be to multiply that times 3. So 18 4/10 times 3. And I will let you do that part on your own. All right. You don't have to worry about recording it in the bubbles over here if you will just circle your final answer. So the last step is to do that last multiplication there of 18 4/10 times 3. And then circle your final answer. Then we have number 10. In number 10, it says your math journal. We don't really have a math journal. We do have a math spiral, but that's not what we use it for. So I would want you to just work this one on your page. So it says, write a real world situation that matches the expression 10y minus 3. Explain the meaning of the result in terms of the real world situation. So what this is saying is I have 10 times something and then I'm subtracting 3. So you're going to think of a real world situation where this might happen. You might have 10 bags of gummy bears. And let's say that there's 25 gummy bears in each bag. So then you would say 10 times 25. Well, that's 250 gummy bears total. And then let's say I eat 3 of them. So then I would have 250 minus 3. So that would be a real world situation that matches that. And I would actually write in my words. I could make up a name. Let's say Shelly. Shelly has 10 bags of, and then I would continue that, of gummy bears. Each bag contains 25 gummy bears. And then I would continue on and explain that 3 of those gummy bears get eaten, how many gummy bears are left. So that would be a real world situation where we have applied that expression. I don't want to see you using my example. I want you to try to come up with your own example. But once you have done that, Make sure that you do hit the turn in button in the corner here and get that turned in, please. And then you can go back to Schoology and you will see something that says fluency practice in the 16th through the 17th folder. And you will click on that. And you will see 2 different fluency practices and then a lesson 4 quiz. I want you to start with fluency practice number 1. And just do fluency practice number 1 for today. If you have time or you want extra practice, you can do practice number 2 and the lesson quiz. I don't know that you will have time to do all of that, but we are using the lesson quiz as practice for today. So again, just pick one thing from the fluency practice to do today, and that will get you completed for this week in math. Again, I would just do fluency practice number 1. And if you need any help with that, please reach out with questions.